Hello, I'm Ernst. I was born June 24th, 1795 in Wittenberg, Germany. I am the eldest out of my three brothers. My two brothers are named Wilhelm and Edward. We were both inspired by our father, who was a theology professor at the University of Wittenberg, and our father, who's Michael Weber Ernst. Our father's known as the father of acoustics. So he had significant impact on me and my brothers when it came to physics and early science. Me and both my brothers began our studies at a very early age, to where we dedicated most of our youth, young adolescents, with research and conducting experiments, pretty much learning and gathering and creating hypotheses. I enrolled in the University of Wittenberg, where both my brothers went to as well, and where my father was as well. And I wanted to pursue my master's degree by 1811. Also by this time, in America, what was taking place, just to get a picture in your head, in the early 1800s, George Washington passes away. John Adams becomes the next president. Just wanted to show Aaron Burr and Hamilton also have a duel pretty much. And this is significant in what was happening in America while me, Ernst Weber, was in my youth still, and I was conducting science and learning about a whole bunch of things with my brothers and inspired by my father. So this was taking place in America, just to get a time frame in place as well. After Wittenberg, I ended up leaving because of a whole bunch of a war rumor pretty much. Napoleon's death was upon us and it was going to get a bit rocky. So I decided to go to Leipzig. In 1815, I earned my MD at the University of Leipzig, and 2 years later, in 1817, I ended up becoming an assistant at a medical school called J.C. Cloris. I ended up returning to my original university. I moved up the ladder pretty fast in life. I soon became a professor at the university my father was a professor at as well. Around this time, there was a thing called the Battle of Leipzig, also known as the Battle of Nations. And this took place around 1813. And Napoleon finally became defeated. It's caused a bit of an uproar where I was at. I didn't let any of that hinder my work. I ended up staying at the University of Leipzig until 1871. I also wanted to share my pocket watch. I have a cool, interesting fact about the pocket watch. The pocket watch was actually invented in Germany by Peter Helene in 1510. These were very common around my time, and they came in handy as well. They mainly became very popular in the 19th century. They were invented was in Nuremberg, which is about 2 hours and 50 minutes from where I stayed, Leipzig, Germany. This is also known as the Nuremberg egg, so I keep a pocket watch on me. I continued my research in 1821, and I mainly just stayed close with my two brothers. I never got married, and I've never ended up having children. I stayed very persistent into my work, to where I did contribute a lot to psychophysics as well. In 1821, I did earn my chair in human anatomy. My brothers were mainly known for inventing psych physics and the electromagnetic telegraph. While I was being a professor at my University of Leipzig, both my brothers were studying medicine. My brother, Wilhelm, in 1826, ended up graduating from the University of Halle with the medical degree. And my other brother, Edward, acquired his medical degree as well. In the mid-1800s, me and my brothers both broke barriers in research. We contributed to anatomy, sociology, and psychology. In 1827, I was able to explain the flexibility of blood arteries cause the pulsatile movement of blood in the aorta to change in the continuous flow of blood in arterioles and capillaries. This was actually considered to be me and my brother's first contribution to sociology and anatomy. We would also do experiments on frogs as well, to be able to conduct research to get answers for some of the books we also published as well. We even traveled to meetings in Italy, me and my brothers, to have meetings as well with our scientific findings. In 1848, I was about 53 years old, and Germany was actually starting to go through a revolution. Pretty much the revolution started because the people wanted to see more expansion, new ideas, and overall better health and economy for the country. The power at the time wasn't really giving what the people wanted. We ended up failing very badly. We did not succeed with this revolution. I didn't really have a take on what side I stand with, and I kind of stayed out of politics for the most part, and I focused on my research and my science with my brothers. One of my very first contributions to psychology and psychology was that I wanted to explain the sensation of touch and taste, and pretty much known today as Weber's Law. I ended up writing a book about this called the tactu, which means the sense of touch. I would use a 2-point threshold technique, and I was actually one of the very first researchers to experiment on humans as well to conduct my hypothesis. And because I was the very first researcher to do that, my name went down in history, and I left behind a legacy. I kind of wanted to tell apart when someone would notice the difference of something. I wanted to determine the tactile sensitivity of the skin. This was skin sensitivity, and it was followed by sensitivity awareness. I would apply 2 compass points on the skin or various regions of the body to test the subject's skin sensitivity. I would change around the 2 different points as well until the subject was able to know a critical difference and be able to tell where the other point was at. Another way I could put this is that when you're lifting at the gym, or if you're lifting a heavy object, you will feel that it's heavy. And if you add on, like, let's say 2.5 pounds, you don't necessarily notice the difference in that. But if you add on 10 to 15 pounds, then you'll notice a great difference in that. So the bigger the initial weight, the larger the difference had before it could be felt. I conducted on continuous and muscular sensations has a positive psychological influence. You guys today now have better sense of bodily sensations and is more easily explained now due to my work. In the past 30 years, I've written 4 books, those being Anatomia Comparta Nervi Sympathici in 1817, De Ore e Adultu Hominis et Animalium in 1820, De Tactu in 1821, and Willeher Experimente Gegründet in 1825. I kind of need to catch up on my German. My apologies. I created the field of psychology known as psychophysics, which investigates the connections between physical stimuli and mental experiences. I am now considered to be the father today of psychophysics. And another example I can put is when you make your coffee in the morning, you initially most likely start out with a bitter taste, and you would keep tasting your coffee until you're able to keep adding sugar or creamers, and it becomes more to your liking. And at that point, you're applying Weber's Law because you keep trying your coffee until you're able to gain your own experience of what coffee taste you might like. I know when I made my teas in the morning, I would try the tea and add a little bit more honey to make it sweeter, and I would be applying my own Weber's Law. Or if you're at the gym and you're lifting with the bar, you add your initial weights on there, and so as you're lifting, you would want it to make it heavier. And as you build up your weights, you wouldn't necessarily know the difference until you're almost double in size, depending on what you're accustomed to. If I were to go to the gym and lift weights, adding 5 pounds on, I wouldn't necessarily know the difference in my initial weight that I started with until I added 10 to 15 pounds, and then in the middle of my set, it would be a bit more strenuous because I've added more weights on, making my body and the sensitivity of what I've known being more aware of how much I'm lifting. So therefore, it would be a noticeable difference. Weber's Law pretty much sums up that your body and your experience is having a noticeable difference in what you're doing when it comes to applying your senses. I did many anatomical studies, but I was most recognized for my work on sensory response to weight, warmth, and pressure, which is documented in my book, De Tactus. I ended up passing away in 1978 in Leonsburg, Germany, and I retired in 1871, about 7 years before my death. I retired at a really old age just because I really loved what I did, and I loved working alongside my brothers as well, who stayed at the university with me. In conclusion, I have contributed a lot to current psychology and sociology and anatomy today with my brothers. Even when you're in the car and you're listening to music and you want to turn the volume up more or lower, you're still applying Weber's law because you are fixing the tone of what is more pleasing to your senses. Well, it's that time. I have to run and I have to get back to conducting more research with my brothers. So thank you for watching and have a nice night.